There are different ways of testing REST APIs. You could, for example, use a third-party tool called Postman, but here I'll use an extension which I can install in Visual Studio Code, the Thunder client extension, which I actually have already installed here, but which you can install if you don't have it, which simply is an extension that makes testing REST APIs simple and straightforward, and which allows you to test REST APIs right from inside Visual Studio Code. For that, I'll open this command palette here with the shortcut or by using View Command Palette. And I'll type in Thunder and then choose the new request command. And this allows me to send a request to a web server. Now here I first of all need to start this web server, and I can do this by simply running node app.js to execute this app.js file which contains my REST API with Node. Now if I try doing that, I right away get an error that it cannot find the module express, and we could ask ChatGPT regarding that error, but if you do have some experience with web development and Node.js, you will probably be able to tell that you simply need to install some extra third-party dependencies here, in this case Express and also Body Parser, to make sure that you can run this code without running into errors. And after running this command here, so after installing these dependencies, you should indeed be able to run Node app.js. And with that, this REST API server is up and running, and you should keep it up and running. So this process here should stay up and running. And now we can send such a request to, for example, HTTP localhost 3000, which is our local address, and 3000 since this is the port being used by our REST API server. At least it's the port used by me here. ChatGPT might have assigned a different port to you, but it's unlikely. And then here, for example, to /meetups. And if you enter this URL here and you click send, indeed you should get back a success response, an empty list of meetups because we haven't added any yet, but you should get back a response. Now we can try sending a post request to /meetups to create a new meetup. Now for this we then also must add a body to this request and add some JSON data here. Now for that we have to write data here in the JSON format, and for this application we then should add a title, a summary, and an address field to this request, because that's the kind of data we try to extract here in the post route. So therefore here I'll add a title, test meetup 1, and then also my summary. And you must wrap these keys and the values between double quotes. First test meetup is the summary here. And then I also have the address, which is the test address 1 in 111 testing. Now if I click send here, this also looks good. I got back a success response here as well with the 201 status code. I also get back the data that was created, which now also includes the automatically generated ID. And I can see that a meetups.json file was created, which indeed does contain that meetup. And now we can also send another request here, another GET request to /meetups, where the body does not matter. And here indeed we now do get back a success response as well, but this time it also does contain the meetup data. So creating and loading meetups works. Looks like the REST API is working correctly regarding that. Now I also want to test the other requests, and I'll set a patch request to /meetup/1, including the ID of the meetup I want to update here in my URL. And now I need to add a body again to describe the changes I want to apply. And for that here, in my patch route, I'm also extracting title, summary, and address, and we're then using this data to update the existing meetup with that data. So here I'll then say updated test meetup 1 and send this request. That's looking good. I got back a success response, and I can see that in meetups.json, the data indeed was updated. So this patch route also works. Last but not least, I'll try deleting this meetup. So we can send a delete request to meetup/1. And I got back a success response as well. And if we take a look at meetups.json, we can indeed see that it is gone. And with that, I'll stop my REST API server here by pressing Ctrl+C in this terminal, but this now proves that indeed this basic REST API, at least for me here, seems to work. If you got some errors in your code, you can of course use ChatGPT for debugging, just as you learned it earlier in the course, but here it seems as if everything is working correctly.